Hey guys, it's Grace with the Bicycle Station. You probably don't see me.
You are so serious.
Can we film it outside?
Yeah, we can go outside. We're outside now.
It's really sunny.
Do you need sunglasses?
What is up, guys? It's Grace from the Bicycle Station, and today we're gonna do a review of the lovely Diverge STR. Dun, 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 dun. So I decided to get the Diverge STR over the Crux about a year ago because I was very unfamiliar with gravel and didn't like it. I actually hated gravel. I used to ride on a Trek checkpoint. I was going in between a Crux and a Diverge STR. Trey told me to get a Crux because I would be faster. And then my friend Esma shot in the specialized branding commercial type of stuff for the Diverge STR. So since she rode it, I reached out to her and said that I would really like it since she knows that I'm scared of gravel. So that's why I decided to get it. I haven't made any changes to the bike besides the carbon handlebars, which I put the Roval Repeat handlebars on it, and I switched them to 38s they came with. Hey, no! There was aluminum 42s on this bike before, and the shape of them was kind of interesting. They were like, and then like that. And then I switched out the saddle. The saddle before was a Power Expert, and I switched out for a Mimic because I always ride on the Mimic. But other than that, I haven't really made any changes to it. On the regular Diverge 2, there's this Future Shock on it. And here there's a spring. Some of them have the dial up here where you can switch it. Mine doesn't, just because it's the Expert, not the Pro version. I would have to fully switch out a spring, which is a downside of this bike. I mean, I liked it overall, just having the 20 millimeters of suspension in the front. And so if you have that dial, it's just a little bit nicer, but honestly I couldn't really tell a change.
A Diverge in like 2018 and I literally never changed the spring.
Yeah,
ever.
It just feels good. It feels better than having a bike without anything in the front. And then in the back there's 30 millimeters of suspension. Flip the switch to the left, that'll be all the way boingy mode, and then in the middle it'll be kind of boingy, and then on the right it'll be fully locked out. So this was nice just because when I was doing races or just rides in general, like if I was doing a road ride on my gravel bike to prepare for some sort of race, I would just lock it out and not have it in boing boing mode is what I call it. And then at Unbound and Mid-South and other races, I would like fully switch it out to have a little bit of suspension. The only downside of the rear suspension being so low is that you have to reach through your legs and get it in the back. So that's like so inconvenient, especially because when I was climbing, I really like to have it locked out because I noticed that it was hurting my back a ton, having it be in the boing boing mode. And then if it was locked out, it would make my back feel a lot better. So I would switch it right when I started descending, and Unbound was very up down the whole time. So right when I got up to the top of the climb, I would have to reach back and flip it. So that was really inconvenient. I wish that there was another place to put it where it could just be easier. So that was one of the downsides of the rear suspension. But overall, it was really comfortable, especially in the flats. And when I was descending, it made me feel a lot more confident. Because I know when I was riding the Checkpoint and other gravel bikes that I've ridden with no suspension, I felt really out of control and bouncy. And this one I still feel out of control, but I don't feel as bouncy. Well, not as out of control, but I just makes me feel more comfortable and confident, which is why I got this bike over the Crux in general. On Specialized website, it says that a 56 is 21 pounds, but I think this one's way heavier. Oh God, is it gonna fall?
No, you're good. This is like 20, we'll say 21, 22-ish.
And that is even with upgraded carbon handlebars. So I feel like there's no way that 21 pounds is right. But,
yeah, I remember like one thing that I've heard you like repeatedly mention about this bike is that it was just heavy.
Yeah. So at Mid-South, there was a creek crossing that was muddy. So everyone was putting their bikes over their shoulders, and I can't with this bike. Well, it's just like really heavy. Like, and then it hurts my shoulder because it's so heavy. So I just always picked it up like this, and it was so much better. But that was one of the downsides, is because I personally am not good at climbing. So having a heavy gravel bike to climb just made it even worse and harder. But also I was fine when I got this bike getting a heavier bike that I would be more comfortable on than getting a lighter and faster bike. And my saddle height's not right now, so ignore that. Someone else wrote it.
Who would you recommend get this bike?
I think young people like me that are scared of gravel and need a little bit of a push to feel more comfortable and confident, but still go fast, because I wanted to ride my mountain bike at first on gravel, so I decided to just get this instead of riding a mountain bike so that I could still keep up on gravel group rides and when I'm riding with my friends. So I think either people who are really uncomfortable with riding gravel, or people that ride gravel and have pain in their shoulders, or just don't like the bumps or anything. I know Chase's dad really likes it, so he's going to be riding Jesse's more often. My mom got the Diverge Expert, not the STR, and she really likes the Future Shock in the front, but I told her that she would like it in the rear too, and she decided not to just because it was heavier, and she said that eventually she thought that she probably wouldn't like it. But I do think that it's better for people like that who are just riding gravel all the time, and it's like chunky gravel, not like boulder gravel. Boulder gravel is like dirt. That's the nice gravel.
It's just a dirt road.
Yeah, that's the gravel that I like. I raced this bike at Mid-South and Unbound, and they were both good races. Considering last year at SBT in August, I said that I was never gonna ride gravel again, and then signed up for 2 gravel races this year, and they both went pretty well. It was definitely thanks to the Diverge STR. The one thing that I didn't like about it that was huge for me was the fit, because when it's in this back like suspension mode, I would be climbing, and at Mid-South I didn't realize it at first, but I would just try and leave it in the suspension mode the whole time, because obviously I'm not doing a training ride on my Diverge. I didn't realize it at Mid-South because I wasn't doing 100-mile training rides. I think the longest ride that I did on this bike before Mid-South was 60 miles, and I didn't have any problems then, but around the 60 to 70 mile mark at Mid-South, my back started like tearing up the center of it. I don't know. And it was because it was in the full suspension mode the whole entire race, and the second half of Mid-South had more hills than the first half. And then at Unbound, I decided to lock it out more often and then only use it when I was descending or on flat ground, and that worked a lot better because my back wasn't hurting as much at Unbound. But that was the one thing, because the inconvenience, like I said earlier, of having to switch this on and off and then having to switch it a bunch at Unbound was just really inconvenient for me. But that was honestly the only downside of it. Other than that, I really liked it, and it made me feel more confident on gravel, and now I actually like riding on gravel, which leads us into the next point of my next bike being the Crux Expert, and I'll put a Rudy fork on it, so I'll still have that suspension in the front.
Stay tuned for that build video.
Yeah, I'll build it with no help, and
yeah, no help at all.
But I'm gonna get a Crux Expert and put a Rudy fork on it so that I still have a little bit of suspension in the front. I just want something a little bit lighter and faster, and it'll work for cyclocross too, so it'll be that all-around bike, where this bike I only really used it for gravel. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool.
We'll go get Jesse for his opinion.
What do you want me to talk about? This bike was one of the bikes that I really wished worked out for me. I really love the paint job. The biggest issue I had was it has pretty much what I would consider a constantly variable bike fit. And what I mean by that is that the suspension parts, the Future Shock, I didn't really ever have a problem with, but in tandem with the rear end moving so much, as I was riding, the seat was just moving so much that it ended up putting more stress on my back. And the context of this is that I have 3 slip discs in my back. And so even though logically this might seem like it would be more comfortable, like I'm always more comfortable on a full suspension mountain bike. The thing about a full suspension mountain bike though is that the seat isn't moving, it's the rear wheel. In this situation, my direct connection to the bike moving really made my back sore, because as I rode, the seat flexes a lot, and even locked out it still moves a slight amount. Unfortunately for me personally, that ended up actually just putting more stress on my back, whereas if I just had like a stationary seat post or something that just moved a very small amount, I think it would have been a lot more comfortable for me in the long run. Because usually a gravel bike you ride for a really long time, and riding it for short periods, it did feel really confident and comfortable, but riding it for anything longer, all I could think about when I was riding is how much my seat was moving, and ultimately with my specific situation in my back injury, it just wasn't a good fit for me. I think this bike works really well for people who are lower confidence off-road. That is one of the best things about this bike, is how confidence inspiring it is. Even whenever I was riding it, and just taking away my back injury for a second, I was going faster downhill on this bike than any other gravel bike I've ever owned, which was fun. This bike's super fun. I really wish it worked for me, because I really like everything about it. I think that in the future, if Specialized was to do this again, I think that we need to tone it down a little bit. And I realize, like I said, it locks out, but the whole thing about it is just any sort of seat post flex needs to be in the background. If it's in the foreground and you're thinking about it, it's too much. And especially in my situation with my injury, unfortunately the STR was not a bike that I could ride for long periods of time.
So guys, comment down below who you like better, me or Jesse.
Yeah, like this bike is, the reason we still own this bike is because Chase's dad, he actually has a metal in his wrist, and it happened, he crashed on a gravel bike and he completely quit riding gravel. And I just want to end this on a positive note. Like, he jumped on this bike and immediately was like, that's the best I've felt off-road ever. And that's why it's set up for him now. And he's going to ride it instead of me. And so like this, I know that maybe me and Grace didn't get along with it 100%, but like this bike still is really good. And John is a great example of that. He's going to be able to ride gravel now that this bike exists, whereas before he had basically quit riding gravel, or even he had no hope of even considering doing it again. If y'all liked this video, subscribe. And also buy stuff from thebicyclestation.com.
If you like this video, buy a Diverge STR.
Yeah, I think they still make this, right?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't looked in a while. I haven't looked and see if Specialized is still gonna roll with the STR or not.
Well, they're still in stock.
Okay, yeah, you can still buy one of these if you want. Definitely a really interesting bike, and I think Specialized deserves some credit for trying a very unique thing here. Is that the end of the video?
All right, we're out.